we need to be able to drive down the cost while also improving the care quality.
Partner Predictions podcast explores companies, people, and teams who push the boundaries of modern technology. Join us as we discover insights on how technology will shape our future. My name is Joonas Villanen. This time we have the pleasure of having three guests, Ilona Raitakari, Joona Pylkäs, and Kalle Reivilä, who all share a passion for e-health. What drives them all is having the possibility to transform the healthcare industry by providing digital innovations, and by seeing the proof of real customer benefit. Let's see how they see the world of tomorrow. First of all, I would like to hear a little bit about TietoEVRY. What makes TietoEVRY such a great company? How would you describe your company?
Yeah, so I can take that. So we are a digital services and software company. So we do not only offer digital consulting and services, but we do have our own software as well. So that's one aspect that is a bit unique in this market. So that's one. Then secondly, we do have a strong local Nordic, especially a Nordic presence. So we are a group of 24,000 people globally, but our focus market and our focus is in the Nordics. And as we all work for the healthcare and the public sector, that is especially interesting because as we all know, the Nordic model and the Nordic state and how Nordic states are perceived globally. It's a very good brand, so it's very interesting company to work, because that is our main target, to work with the Nordic organizations and Nordic healthcare system and operations.
You mentioned that being local, having local presence in the Nordics. We know that Finns are very, how would I say, they don't like the change. They don't like the unknowns. Do you see this sort of aspect of safety in being local? Is that something that your customers are seeking? Is the market kind of clutching onto you guys because you have such a strong presence and good brand image in the local markets?
Yeah, I think it derives. I mean, the trust. It's basically about trust, mutual trust between our company and our clients. But I think it derives from the decades of experience that we have in doing these kind of transformations and solutions for our clients. And especially in Finland, it is really about having how the patients trust the officials, and then in this case the healthcare system. And I would say that trust is very, very much in place.
You mentioned that you have the technical capability, but you also have a own software that you have built. How has this sort of, is there a guiding principle when you really think about the customer centricity and building that trust? How did you identify the things that were most needed from your clients when building the software?
Not to throw Joona under the bus here, but since Joona is from the software unit, maybe you can maybe give a few pointers on this one.
Yes, thanks, Kalle. We have within TietoEVRY we have a special division for the industry software called industry software, where all these industry-specific software solutions are located and managed. And healthcare welfare industry is one of the key industries within this division. And well, the first thing about healthcare and welfare is that the operations, the healthcare and welfare operations and laws and regulations, they vary, they differ from country to country. So it's not the one industry or one just one group of customers that you have to address, but you have to also gain knowledge and have the knowledge and insight about each country and each customer segment that you are catering. And that is just, of course, to build that knowledge and experience. It's just hard work and takes a lot of experience. And we have been in this industry and business for 40 years, since the early 80s in the Nordic market. And during those 40 years or so, of course, we have developed an extensive knowledge about what our customers are, what they are thinking, and how do they operate, and what is the local regulations and laws that we have to be mindful about. So, but I think in short, that to answer your question, it's just about having a constant and open customer dialogue, and really you have to work to understand the customer and what are their goals and what are their targets, what they are trying to achieve to the technological solutions.
At least in my book, if you consider what makes a great partner, this sort of listening is one of the top priorities for me, that I as a customer, I feel heard. Now, the next question is for Ilona. If you consider the fact that you've operated for 40 years, you have a lot of data, you have an extensive experience dealing with very complex software issues and various group of customer needs. How would you describe, has this become your competitive advantage within your market and amongst your competitor? How would you describe your competitive advantage?
Well, certainly it has, and I think that our unique characteristic is especially that we have this long history with actually we are a market leader within electronic medical records, both for welfare and healthcare organizations. And then we have this like newer a big offering development and investments related to data analytics and like, for example, population health and so on. And then thirdly, we are also strongly involved with agile development of citizen engagement systems, and partnering heavily with Helsinki Uusimaa Hospital District. So there is a constant communication with the customer. So I think that all these things really give us a huge competitive edge here.
I would like to hear a little bit about how all these big terms like data analytics and based on that you probably do some sort of predictive machine learning or such. But what are some of the concrete projects that you've done? Like how does this show? How does this make the customer's world better?
Yeah, if we start from the, let's say, helicopter perspective here, is that what is the situation overall in healthcare and welfare globally, is that this industries and these healthcare welfare service providers, they are being hit by this data tsunami. It's just a massive amounts of health-related data is being generated today, and by some estimates, the amount of health data is doubling every 18 months or so. And basically this means that right now, and especially in the near future, we have such a huge amounts of data that it is becoming just impossible for us humans to process that data effectively, at least. So that means that we need new ways to process the information and the data and turn that data into insights, and we can use that insights then to make better decisions. So that's the overall situation that is really driving the market of data analytics in the healthcare and welfare. And then to be more concrete on what we have done, already a few years ago we saw this opportunity in this data analytics, and we started to heavily invest to advanced analytics and developing our own solutions and portfolio for this area, and together with the Helsinki region and also with Microsoft, we have developed one of the most advanced and leading cloud-based health analytics solutions. And basically, what we have done in that hospital district, is that we have taken pretty much all the data that is available there from different systems that are made or developed by different vendors, and took that data into the cloud and to Microsoft Azure, and then used all these advanced analytical tools and services and capabilities that these modern cloud platforms like Azure offer to us, and I created different types of analytical solutions based on the data and utilizing the data. And for example, we have a very exciting research program going on with the Helsinki Uusimaa hospital district, that where the goal is to find these rare diseases and patients and patient segments from the data using modern analytical tools like machine learning.
That sounds amazing and advanced and very complex, and I'm sure that there's a lot of teaching going on between you and your customers. Kalle, as a kind of dealing with more in the customer side, how do you see the biggest, are these things that customers know to ask from you, or is this something that you are providing and based on your insight you're recommending and moving the customer towards this sort of new world of machine learning, advanced analytics, and so forth? What is your role as a partner in all this?
Well, the short answer is that it's a constant dialogue with the client, and our customers, they are very well, they know very well the technologies, and they are very much up to date. What is the newest new? But I really think that the dialogue and the challenge and the kind of what is really interesting is that how do you apply that technology? I mean, for many things, the technology, well, it hasn't been a barrier for many years now. We have so much different AI-related things we can apply, but it's more about finding the right use cases and what are the optimal and most cost-efficient technological solutions that we can apply in those use cases. And then it's really about how do you apply that into the daily life of the organization. So it really doesn't help much if you have a nice most modern platform there is if you don't know what you are going to do with it. And the same goes with the data. If you have a big data system, or you have a lot of different kind of data sets in there, but if you don't have the insight, then you don't know how would you utilize that for decision making, like Joona said. So it's really about applying the kind of the real life and what is happening at the organization and different levels, and combining that into the technology, and then trying to be a kind of a middleman in guiding those discussions together with the client.
I think there's multiple gems of wisdom in there, and I think you guys are in a very good and I don't know if I want to say lucky position working with clients that have such maturity in this technological realm. I know that there's a lot of companies who are still fighting against the cloud idea of a cloud. So I think that gives you huge edge on the market to work with customers that have very matured in the technology aspect. But then you said, kind of like when digging into these sort of data sets, then when you're trying to find the insights, it's like more considering why you are seeking certain insights and instead of what, and then rather than asking yourself what you do, you ask how you do it, and developing from that. So I think what you mentioned there's actually a few good gems there that we can all take in. I'm not going to name any names here. You guys can decide who's going to go first. But what, in your opinion, does the world look like in the 5 next years? How do these sort of technological advancements integrate into our world? What does it look like in the future?
I can maybe begin continuing on the data part, as Joona already told, and as I was already explaining, it's really about turning the data into insight. So and I think as an industry we've been fairly successful in generating some of that insights for selected care paths. But now it's really the time. How do we turn that insight into action? We have so many different kind of technological capabilities we can apply, but it's not really about the technology. But how do we take the next step in how to apply that into the real life? So it's kind of finding a way of not being a buzzword kind of technology, and rather being the one that brings the business benefits in. And as we know, in Western states, we do need a lot of efficiencies as the population gets older. And in many cases, the optimal way of doing things is not always the digital way, and by this I mean the kind of the interaction with the patients. But with the insight that we can generate from the big data, we can know what is the optimal way of interacting with the patient. I mean, for us, like we know how to use all these apps, and we are good with technology. So for us, that is probably the preferred channel. But if we think about the the processes or the kind of the diseases that cause most of the costs. In those segments, the people are not that technological savvy, or they do not have the energy or the possibilities to go that way. So for that group, the interaction might be something else. It might be a phone call, it might be a visit, and then supporting that with technology. So I think that is kind of the way we should be going next, instead of just applying always a new technology. So finding kind of the applying part of everything.
I think you are right in the sense that now that we have more information, we have more data, we have more tools, technology is not in any shape or form limiting our imagination. I think we have to be more and more critical to what direction we're going, what we're going to implement, where do we put our resources to. And this question is for Ilona or Joona. How do you keep this sort of critical mind through all this? Because I know it's very easy to get excited and to just start implementing, going after the next silver, the shiny thing. But how do you keep yourselves kind of take a step back and keep critical?
Yeah. If I go first, then I think the key here is just to stay focused, because if you look at least this healthcare and welfare industry, the primary goals that the customers have, they are pretty, let's say, straightforward. That we all know, because of the aging population and so forth, we need to be able to drive down the cost while also improving the care quality. And of course, we would need to address the patient experience, but also the experience of the professionals. So we just managed to focus on these, let's say, few goals that we have, the primary goals that the customers have. Then I think it's more easier to stay on the right path and not to get distracted by the new gadgets or technologies that are available. Maybe something like that.
Yeah, I totally agree, and would also I think that within this development work that we are currently doing within these ecosystems, we are constantly doing various POCs for new areas. So it makes it more easier to start fast and fail fast, and then to notice that what is the right direction that we should continue. So and this all of course happens together with the customer, so we get like a fast feedback from the customer whether we are going to the right direction.
Very good. And just to clarify before we jump to the last questions, by POC you mean proof of concept? Just to clarify. How do you prepare yourselves for the future? And let's start from Ilona.
Well, actually, like discussed here, it's we truly discuss a lot with our customers to understand their future demands and dreams, and interact a lot with partners and technology providers, and work together within these ecosystems, and also with various startups. And so I think it's about this interaction that based on that you can truly create and constantly update like your internal big picture, like what are we heading to and how is the future looking.
I have to say something before we jump to Joona. You said dreams, like you listen to the dreams of the customer. I think that's very ambitious, and I think there's a very interesting and important lesson that sometimes when we, because we are limited by our imagination, I think asking like, what is the dream world look like? What would be the optimal case? And that kind of sets the bar so high that it gives us a very nice playing field of actually achieving something that would have high either sociological or this sort of societal impact or economical impact, and I think that's very important sometimes to just ask without any boundaries, what are your dreams? What is the so I like what you said, that you listen to the dreams of the customer. Now, Joona, how about you? What do you do to prepare for the future?
I work a lot on let's say long-term planning, and I feel lucky that I'm in this position, that I get to talk to so many different, let's say, stakeholders, our partners, our customers, different types of vendors, both locally and globally, and of course the academia, the research side, and so very different input and from different topics from let's say from these different stakeholders, and I think it's just you have to take all this in, or try to get all this information in, and then synthesize that and create your own vision for the future. And of course, it takes a lot of time, a lot of listening, and but it's, at least for me, it's very an interesting process, and a continuous learning process that I'm happy to be in. And for the future, I still I think the dream that I have is that we can find some kind of solutions, or probably multiple solutions that will give us advantage in the future to move from this reactive healthcare and welfare more into preventive and precise medicine and health and well-being.
I have a little extension question for you. I know that good answers derive from good questions. Do you have a favorite question to ask?
I have this one that I use occasionally, is that even if people work in a, let's say, large corporation or global company, I ask them that if you would launch a startup, what would it be? And then you get quite interesting answers and ideas from different people.
That is a correct question. What would be the startup if you had a chance to start one? Thank you so much. How about you, Kalle? How do you prepare yourself?
I take a pragmatic angle here. So preparing for the future, I think it's all about the innovation, and you cannot innovate by force. So it's really about finding the time. I mean, finding the peaceful moment in your calendar, and it might be just by yourself. It might be with your team. It might be with the client, or with your partner. You need that isolated time, and in some sense you also need that physical space. I mean, the spring that we have now gone through, it's probably set a new normal for all these distance working, but it's also emphasizing the fact that at some things you just cannot innovate virtually. So it's really about finding the right spot and giving the team or the client the tools and the means to kind of sit down and dream to innovate or create new ideas.
I think you're onto something. There have been many studies that throughout our history, a lot of the great artists, creators, businessmen, innovators, they have calendared or secluded themselves for daily walks and for hours upon hours. And that gives them exactly the isolation and the freedom to let ideas and thoughts float freely without any pressure. And that's, I think, where the true connections form, not when it's forced, but when it's free to do so. I think that's a good end note for this episode. Thank you so much for participating, and for the listeners, we'll hear about more stuff on the next episode. Thank you so much, Ilona, Kalle, and Joona.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.